UNLV Microcertificate Economics. Let's talk money. Let's suppose we have an economic system that is not based on money. That economic system would be called a barter system. B-A-R-T-E-R, it's right up there on your screen. Barter system means that we have to trade for things. So you're a farmer and you have a pig, and I'm a farmer and I grew some corn, and I want a pig and you want some corn. We can swap the pig for the corn, and everybody's happy. The problem with this is that this system is based on what we call double coincidence. That means two people have to be in the same place at the same time, each one of whom has what the other one wants. So two things have to happen. Double coincidence. The two of you have to be in the same place at the same time, and each one of you has to have what the other person wants. Now, kind of on the internet these days, there are sites that get around that, but you can't imagine the whole country kind of working that way. So double coincidence. Okay? Imagine that I, as an econ professor, have to try to find someone who has a lunch that I want that's willing to trade that lunch for an econ lecture. And that's the way I fund my econ lectures. I am going to be one hungry econ professor. The Constitution gives to Congress the power to coin money, and we'll talk about that again in a second. Regulate its value, that means regulate the value of that money inside the United States and compare it to foreign money. And it allows foreign coins to be used inside the United States if Congress wants to do that. And they have done that in the past. Economists do not like definitions of money. If you go to a dictionary, they give you a definition of money about an asset. Forget all that. Money is something, anything, that does three things. And if you do those three things, your money regardless. And those three things are medium of exchange, store of value, and unit of account. The first and most importante of these is medium of exchange. Remember that in a barter system, you have to have all this double coincidence and all this. There's a way around that. And the way around that is with money. So I trade the university econ lectures, and instead of trying to give me lunch, they give me an econ. They give me an econ lecture? They give me money. Instead of the university paying me in lunches, they give me money. I can then go buy the lunch that I want. You all pay the university, and in exchange, you get econ lectures. So you don't have to try to figure out what lunch to bring me to get the econ lecture. Okay? It makes things simpler. Adam Smith's best friend, David Hume, said, and this is not an exact quote because he had like tizzes and stuff in his quote because they're old guys, so no tizzes. But David Hume said, money is not the wheels of trade, 'tis the oil. Not the wheels, it's the oil. It doesn't do the actual thing. It makes things work better. Okay, so the other two of the three things. Thing number one is store of value. You sitting on your couch, a quarter was in your pocket, the quarter falls out of your pocket, rolls under the couch. You put the cushions up a year from now and you find the quarter. You can still spend it. The value of that quarter has been stored. It's money. Your debit card falls out of your pocket, and a year later you pull your debit card out from under that couch. There's no value in that debit card unless there's value in your checking account. The value in your debit card does not come from the debit card. Your debit card is not a store of value. A credit card is not a store of value. You have to eventually, hopefully, pay off your credit card debt with money. So credit card and a debit card, they're mediums of exchange. They make it easier for us to spend, but they're not stores of value. Okay, we're going to find out that sometimes in the really, really old days, they use cows as money. A cow is a store of value, but not as good a store of value as gold or silver, right? If you drop a cow down to the bottom of the ocean in a ship, and a gold coin is sitting next to it, 200 years later, the gold coin is still a gold coin, but that cow, yeah. Okay, so thing number 3, unit of account. We use money to do accounting. That's what that means. So for us to call something money, we have to be able to use it as an accounting mechanism. When somebody says to you, you're adding up apples and oranges, you can't do that. Remind them that we do that all the time. We go to the grocery store and we buy an apple and we buy an orange, and the cash register person says, $1.25. We just added up $1.25 worth of apple and orange by using money in its function as unit of account. 2 basic kinds of money exist in the world. They are called commodity money and fiat money. Commodity money is made of something valuable. It's made of gold or silver or a cow. It's made of something that if it wasn't money, you could still do something with it, trade it. It still has value. Fiat money is money which is value because of an order of the government. Alexander Hamilton here, $10 bill. That bill says this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. It doesn't say it's money. It's legal tender. It is money because the government passed a law that says if I owe you $10 and I give you this piece of paper, our debt is settled. There's a contractual relationship in that money. That's fiat money. Old school money was almost all commodity money. Modern money is almost all fiat money. Commodity money in some ways might not be what you think. We already talked about cows. There's actually an English word which is pecuniary. Pecuniary means related to money. The Latin root of that is the Latin root for cattle, pecos. So it's a word that references cows as money. In the Old West, in America, we used to shoot deer and use deer as money. And if you're saying, what? Have you ever said to someone, do you have a buck? Can you loan me a buck? Where do you think that buck word comes from? It used to be that if a barrel of flour was $3, you went out in the woods and you went and shot $3. That's what you mean when you're using the word buck. The island of Yap, which is actually part of the United States, has been since World War II. They use these big rocks that are down there. There's something in the middle of this screen, a picture of one. I went all the way to Washington, D.C. to get you that picture. I know you're very excited by that. That rock is the size of a car tire and weighs a couple 100 pounds, and that's money on the island of Yap. In the American colonies, tobacco leaves were often used as money. But most of the time, commodity money is copper or silver or gold, because copper and silver and gold have a nice long lifespan, right? There are gold coins that sit at the bottom of the ocean for 500 years, and they pick them up, and they look almost new, and they're still all goldy and stuff. Commodity money left its mark, particularly out here in the West, but all across the United States. In some order here, you notice those silver coins that are up in the left-hand corner of our screen. Those are Spanish silver dollars. From the beginning of the United States until almost the middle 1800s, that was the coin that most Americans used who used coins. So, Spanish silver dollar. It's made in Mexico. It is the number one coin all across Europe and all across North America. Really nice coin made in Mexico. Spanish silver dollars. And again, remember that that's constitutional for Congress to authorize. And then around the middle of the 1800s, Congress passed a law that said, no, you have to use U.S. currency. You can't use these Spanish dollars anymore. There's names of things. Golden State Warriors, the San Francisco 49ers. If you drive in California, you know that they love their freeways so much they name them. And the freeway that travels from one end of California to the other is also called the Golden State Freeway. That's the state motto in California, the Golden State. In Nevada, we're the Silver State. And the reason for that, strangely enough, if you know your history, when California came into the Union, as part of the conditions of them coming into the Union, they got to pick the boundary between what is now California and what is Nevada. So that's why it has that kink in it, why it looks the way it does. California got to pick where to put the boundary. And they missed the largest silver mine in the entire United States. They didn't know it existed. But the Comstock lode, which is outside of Reno up in Virginia City, and you can go visit it if you want. There's not much silver up there anymore, but it was this huge, huge silver mine. And it's on the wrong side of the line because California didn't know it was there. But only by a few miles, like 5 miles, it's on the wrong side of the line. Nevada, today, if it were a country, would be the 5th or 6th largest gold-producing country in the world. We produce so much gold. But again, globalization, all of those gold mines belong to companies that are not based in the United States. So all the profits that comes out of those gold mines ends up in other countries. And the last thing I put up here is University of Colorado, my alma mater, that's where I went to school. That makes me a golden buffalo. Colorado is full of gold and silver mines, and the University of Colorado, we're the golden buffaloes. From the founding of the United States until about 1900, as we'll see, the United States was technically on what's called a bimetallic monetary system. This started out with that guy up on the whiteboard there, Alexander Hamilton. He had a copy of Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations, in his office when he was Secretary of the Treasury. He studied economics. He talked to all these people. And he came into us with this bimetallic system, which meant that the United States had an official value for both gold and silver. Not just one, but both. Bimetallism. The advantage of bimetallism, as we'll see, is it gives you a lot more money. It's easier to put money out in the system when you can put in either gold or silver. And of course, there's lots of gold and silver in the United States, though at the Alexander Hamilton point, he didn't know that there was all this gold and silver out in the West, and it wasn't part of the United States. But it gave the United States more flexibility, he thought, to have this bimetallic system and have both gold and silver in the system. The United States stays bimetallism until 1873, when technically it's still bimetallism, but Congress passes a law that prohibits the Treasury from making silver dollars. So the Treasury can no longer make silver dollars. Because they can't make silver dollars, that effectively demonetizes silver. Silver's in quarters and nickels and dimes, but who cares? And it starts 27 years of fighting over this issue, which ends in 1900 when Congress passes a law that officially puts the United States on the gold standard. This 1873 law is unofficially referred to as the crime of 1873. Two reasons this happens. One, of course, is those of us out here in the West who are full of silver mines, we're a little upset that all of a sudden our silver isn't money anymore. The Treasury still buys silver to calm the Westerners down. Every now and then Congress passes a law and makes the Treasury buy silver, even though it's not money. They spend millions of dollars buying silver. The other thing is, as we're about to find out, as we'll talk about, this is where the populist movement in the United States comes from. This question of silver and gold versus just gold, the gold standard versus bimetallism, that's where the populist movement comes from. The populist movement that today is Bernie Sanders and AOC. It starts with this crime of 1873. So we were on bimetallism, and then we got to the gold standard officially in 1900, but that didn't last very long. In the Great Depression, Franklin Roosevelt, who's sort of sitting there in that chair, took us completely off the gold standard. We were about the last country in the world to go off. Pretty much everybody else was off before us. We didn't stop using gold to deal with our international friends, though. Other countries could still deal with the United States using gold until 1972, when Richard Nixon put a stop to that. That takes us from being sort of partly using fiat money to using nothing but fiat money. They actually made people turn their gold in. If people owned a lot of gold, the legal requirement was for them to come turn their gold in. We wanted to take gold out of the system, out of people's minds. So again, our money, and we'll look at pictures of this eventually, says this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. There's no gold backing it up. There's nothing behind it except for one thing. That one thing is faith. Our money is backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. We have a faith-based monetary system. Our money is dependent on how much we believe in it. We're willing to keep money in our pocket overnight only because we think it's going to have value in the morning. That means we all have faith. When we get down on our knees at night, our money is included in our prayers because only our faith in it gives it value. That's what you have to think about. The system works because you have faith in it. You believe in it. You take that little plastic card and you are pretty sure you can go to Starbucks and buy your latte, chino thingy, whatever, and that your money's in the bank and that it's there and that there's money and that $20 bill in your pocket is still going to be a $20 bill tomorrow. It's all about what you believe in. Okay? When countries get into serious financial trouble, it's almost always because the people who live in that country no longer have faith in the money of that country. Whether they don't trust the government or whatever, it's loss of faith that creates these serious problems for countries. Queen Elizabeth I had a financial advisor by the name of Thomas Gresham. And she supposedly noticed that whenever she issued shiny new coins, nobody seemed to spend them. They seemed to keep them. And that the money that was floating around was bad. Now, how does money get bad? Well, partly, even if you have a coin, if you use it and use it and use it and use it, it could get worn out. But the other thing that happens to coins is people do bad things to them. So, if I have a gold coin and I'm poor and broke, I might take a file or a nail or something and gouge a little bit of the gold out of that coin. And every time I get a coin, take a little bit of gold or silver and file. You with me? So coins that have been in circulation, been around a while, they're messed up. You have a choice now. You have two coins. You have a messed up coin that doesn't have the right amount of gold in it anymore, and you have this bright new shiny coin. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to hide that bright new shiny coin because you know it has the right value, and you're going to spend the crappy old coin because, hey, it's not worth what it says it's worth. Okay? So Gresham told Queen Elizabeth, supposedly this law, that bad money drives good money out of circulation, and if you want your monetary system to be all good money, then you have to make sure that there's no bad money. Okay, I'm sure he didn't say it quite that way. There's a little quote from him up there that shows you how bad English was back then. People have applied Gresham's law to all kinds of interesting situations since then. Musicians, for example, they thought that when the digital age came and all of this music and anybody could sit around at home at night and make a song that you would still get good music would still be better than bad music. And what's happened is, in minds of most of the music companies, is exactly the opposite. That all of this bad music has made people less interested in taking the time and the effort to really create good music. And there's a lot less variation in music that there just was better before, right? The average quality of the average song has gone down, and even the better songs, the amount of work that goes into them is less. The same thing applies to politicians. The more bad, messed up politicians that go out there, the fewer good people want to participate in politics.